Hey, greetings everybody, Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On the last episode, we found out who the first Lich King was, which was Ner'zhul. We left him off in the novel getting tortured by Kil'jaeden, and the deal he was given was, hey, go into this suit of armor, take the Frostmourne, and be our slave. And he said, alright, cool, sounds good, stop torturing me, please. Alright, so stay a while and listen to this one. This is called Icecrown and the Frozen Throne, and I'm guessing this is going to be kind of the origin story of where those key Wrath of the Lich King elements come from. When Kil'jaeden's dark work was done, he explained his plan to his new minion. The Lich King would conjure a necromantic plague that would choke all resistance away from Azeroth. The living would die and be reborn as loyal undead soldiers. These mindless servants would weaken Azeroth's defenses in preparation for a demonic invasion by the Legion. There's the dog, he wanted to say hello. Kil'jaeden remained suspicious of the Lich King. The Demon Lord had long since lost interest in trusting his minions. The Dreadlords who had helped torment Ner'zhul and craft his armor would accompany him to Azeroth. They would be both jailers and executors, meant to hasten the Lich King's task by any means necessary. Through a tremendous expenditure of power, the Legion opened a small portal from the twisting nether into Azeroth. The Lich King's icy cask streaked across the night sky and smashed into an isolated part of Icecrown Glacier in the frigid continent of Northrend. His prison, warped by the descent, came to resemble a throne. The Ice King's Dreadlord caretaker soon joined him and began to construct fortifications around this frozen throne. The Lich King let them do their work while he started his own. His expanded consciousness reached out to the scattered native inhabitants of Northrend, darkening their thoughts and afflicting them with terrible nightmares. The Lich King treaded carefully at first, testing his powers. Kil'jaeden had been adamant that the nations of Azeroth not know what was coming until it was too late. Isolated tribes and powerful beasts fell under the Lich King's command. First came fierce creatures called Wendigo and the savage Ice Trolls. Then came lost tribes of mighty Vrykul. The Vrykul were a war-hungry breed. Millennia ago they had sought to conquer the world, but their campaign was cut short by Azeroth's foremost guardians, the dragon aspects. The majestic creatures had placed the Vrykul in a deep, unending slumber to spare the world from their barbaric ways. The Lich King's servants slew the Vrykul in their sleep, and they were raised into undeath as powerful new warriors. Pleased with his initial successes, the Lich King crafted an early strain of the Plague of Undeath. There was a remote human settlement on the fringes of the Dragonblight, unaware of the dangerous force that was rising nearby. The Lich King controlled the plague with his will alone, sending it into the village while the humans slept. Within 3 days, everyone in the settlement had died. Soon after, they rose again as undead minions. Their thoughts and awareness were added to the Lich King's own. He felt himself ascending higher and higher into realms of power he had never dreamed of. The more minds he controlled, the mightier he became. As he continued to experiment with his manipulation of the undead, a fearsome stronghold rose around him. The Dreadlords had constructed an impenetrable fortress called Icecrown Citadel. It would serve as the Lich King's base of operations from which his campaign of terror would flow. Kil'jaeden was deeply satisfied with the way events were progressing. He ordered the Lich King to quietly keep amassing his power. Once he had control of Northrend, he could begin his real work on the rest of Azeroth's living, starting with the Eastern Kingdoms. The nations there had suffered through years of conflict with the Horde. They were vulnerable and beset by internal strife. They would fall in short order to the Plague of Undeath. The Legion could then use the region as a staging point for gathering the full might of its armies on Azeroth. Kil'jaeden's plan appeared sound, yet the Lich King was plotting against him. Though the entity played the part of a loyal servant, he was secretly determined to break away from the Legion's control. He held no allegiance to the demons. Kil'jaeden had forced him into servitude through acts of brutality. He knew the Demon Lord's promise that the Lich King would be allowed to freely roam the world was a lie. The Lich King would never forget what Kil'jaeden had done to him. Never. One day he would make the Demon Lord pay for it. The main obstacles to the Lich King's vengeance were the Dreadlords. Under Kil'jaeden's orders, They carefully watched the entity for any signs of disobedience. The Dreadlords were highly intelligent and crafty, but their cunning paled in comparison to the Lich King's. With great caution, he manipulated the demons. The Lich King masked the true scope of his power. He made the Dreadlords believe that they were in complete control of him. All the while, he watched his prey and learned their individual strengths and weaknesses. Each of those Dreadlords, yeah. The Valkyr. From the Valkyr, the Lich King learned of intriguing creatures called, or from the Vrykul, of intriguing creatures called Valkyr. These spectral beings could corral spirits and even delve into the Shadowlands, the realm of death. The Lich King tried to create his own Valkyr, but the task proved difficult even for him. After several missteps, he finally succeeded. The Valkyr greatly enhanced his ability to control the dark powers of undeath. So this is like another chapter of like, yes, it did raise some of those things. How were there undead creatures on Northrend? Is it in Northrend? How are the Vrykul part of this? Like all these various things. And also it's kind of setting the stage for why this doesn't work in the Burning Legion's favor. Also, this is like we've talked about some things that are foreshadowing Burning Crusade expansion. Now we're foreshadowing the Wrath of the Lich King and parts of Warcraft 3. All right, we got another episode in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you for listening to me and my dog, and I will see everybody next time on Lore of Warcraft.